Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know where you are listening to the program, but we're here on the Irv Homer Show Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we go from, let me see, what am I looking for? I'll find it, folks. Stick around. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday on WBCB in Levittown, Pennsylvania. And, of course, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here on the Irv Homer Show from our studios in the bowels of Feasterville, Pennsylvania. Starting, there will be the show on Christmas Eve will be from 4 to 5 p.m. There'll be no show on New Year's Eve. Starting January the 5th, our hours are going to be 4 to 5 in the afternoon. Starting next year, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 4 to 5 p.m. So make a note of that, tell your friends. And so we go. The problem that I see at the present time is reflective of things that may happen at the end of the George Bush II administration. And Bill Clinton, when he left office, pardoned a lot of people. So interesting to find out who President Bush will pardon at the end of his administration. To review the bidding, let me just give you some of the crimes that were committed that President Bush 41, that is President Bush's dad, pardoned. And then maybe you can understand that presidents have the power of presidential pardon at the time they leave office. Once again, we do have a website if you want to get on board. Monday, December the 22nd, that's tonight. And if you want to go in the chat room and ask any questions about things that have crossed your mind over the weekend with the news, or you can give us a call at 215-253-8877. We prefer that you, when you call that line, you just stick to one subject, extrapolate on that subject, make your point on that one subject rather than doing a shotgun telephone call that takes up a lot of time. We put the telephone in for your convenience, but we don't want any long dissertations on various and sundry subjects. But you can get on our chat room and get to the meat of what you want to say. There is so damn much information. Before I go into this list of pardons that President Bush granted to people when he left office, I've got to talk about the stupidity or the pre-programmed stupidity of the syndicated broadcasts. And why I do that is because I am embarrassed to the talk radio format that is in America that has taken over total and complete blind ignorance of not only the moderators but the callers. And I say that in all deference to even some of my callers, who are not the brightest bulb on the Christmas tree. For example, the Oxycontin Kid, the drug addict of talk radio, Rush Limbaugh, received a phone call this afternoon from a listener from, I believe, Cleveland, complaining about the cold weather and the amount of snow that is in Cleveland. And this idiot Limbaugh, with the approval of the idiot caller, made fun of Al Gore and his whole concept of global warming. And you're going to say, oh boy, Irv, you're picking on Rush Bow and you're picking on the caller from Cleveland because it's a joke. There is no global warming. Look at the cold weather we're having on the East Coast and the snows that we're having in Northern America. Well, maybe you idiots, and maybe the idiot, the Oxycontin Kid Limbaugh, a known drug addict, a known man who went into drug rehabilitation, and once you're a drug addict, you're always a drug addict as you are an alcoholic. You're always an alcoholic, and you have that tendency toward addiction. But we make excuses for the perverts in our society, like Limbaugh, because we'll excuse anything as long as it meets your prejudice and as long as it meets your bias. Well, global warming, stupid Oxycontin Limbaugh and the idiot caller from Cleveland did not say global warming in Cleveland, Ohio. Global is the entire globe, you two morons. And you morons who think that Rush Limbaugh is the second coming next to Jesus Christ. If you take a look at the globe that people who are concerned about global warming is concerned about, global Earth is warming. The ice caps are melting to a degree never before in recorded history. There is a water shortage around the world due to global warming that is going to trigger more wars than the shortage of oil, because speaking to a friend of mine last night who had just returned from Israel, there is more concern about water shortage in the Middle East than there is about the shortage of oil. And as long as the morons of America and some of you who think Rush Limbaugh is a genius continue not to look at a picture when it is shown to your face, nothing in this world is going to change. If you're going to look at the problem of global warming, look at the globe, not Cleveland, Ohio, not Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, not Lehigh County, but look at what is happening around the globe. That's why Al Gore refers to it as global warming, not Cleveland warming, not Philadelphia warming, not Texas warming, not North Dakota warming, you morons. He's talking about global warming and the possibility that global warming is creating a climatic change on this globe, tending to create a global warming of the magnitude that has never been recorded in the history of man. And I get so damn frustrated with the idiocy of these talk show hosts that are leading people blindly by the hand, and the moronic callers that call them. And I know the reason that the morons get through is because the screeners are told never to allow anyone on the air that will make the talk show host look stupid. I repeat, they are told not to allow anyone to get on the air to get involved in a debate or a conclusion or facts that will make these high-priced pimps, and that's all they are, high-priced pimps, to be allowed to debate them in an honest, upright, forward fashion. The blind ignorance of what is on the air today is only exacerbated by the mentality of the masses who follow them or listen to them. And I constantly hear them berating Hollywood or the liberal media. And as they constantly criticize the quote liberal media and criticize Hollyweird as it's referred to, in the capitalist society that these perverts are always critical of, there is nothing to stop the so-called Hannitys, the so-called Limbaughs, the so-called Medveds, or any other syndicated broadcaster from starting and printing their own newspaper and competing in the open market with the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the Philadelphia Inquirer, the Chicago Tribune. But they're too damn yellow because they know that they wouldn't have the freedom of the microphone. They'd have to invest money and hire reporters to report all the news, not be selective as they are. There is nothing to stop the right-wing conservative pimps like Limbaugh, who makes millions of dollars, and the other syndicated broadcasters, to make movies on their own instead of criticizing the so-called liberal Hollywood films. But are you people that dumb to realize that they wouldn't spend their own money to go into the movie business? They wouldn't go into the production of television programs that are, quote, they're pro-American programs, but they would rather sit and stir you idiots up to criticize the mainstream media or criticize Hollywood, or criticize the mainstream media, CBS, NBC, or MSNBC, or even Fox. And when the stupid masses, and you are included in most of them, don't recognize that they're advocating competition and capitalism, but are too damn yellow to invest their own money to go in competition with Hollywood, or go in competition with the Wall Street Journal, or the New York Times, or the Washington Post, they sit comfortably by investing their money with their friends, raping you at the box office, with their newsletters, with their ties, with their cups, with all the other crap that they sell, instead of investing their money and making movies themselves. What would be wrong with seeing a patriotic film featuring that great hero Oliver North, who should be in jail, to make a movie showing how great it is to be in Iraq and Afghanistan? The surge, the success of the Purge. They wouldn't invest one damn dime of their own money because they know damn right well that it would fail. They couldn't compete with Hollywood. They can't compete with the networks. They can't compete with cable television. They do their own little thing in that cloistered atmosphere of theirs with their blind, stupid audience and convince you how brilliant they are. But they don't believe in capitalism because they don't want to compete. They don't want to compete in the open marketplace. They'll criticize Air America. They'll criticize every damn thing under the sun as long as they don't have to invest one damn dime of their own to go in competition with them. So they write their books and they sell them to their audience. Who the hell reads that crap? I've read them. I've scanned them. I've seen them. And all they've done is taken the lies that they perpetuate on the air and put it in print, and a lot of stupid, well, I saw it, I read it in the book. Well, a printed word, ladies and gentlemen, is only a verbal word put in print. It's the same lie. And if these guys are so brilliant, why don't they run for political office? But lame-brain Oxycontin drug addict Limbaugh has never run for one political office. Why? If I were a genius like Rush Limbaugh and claimed to have the popularity and support that I'd run for president of the United States, and his ass would be so sorely whipped he wouldn't be able to poop for a month. And that moron Hannity could probably be maybe a dog catcher in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And when the masses of this country realize how they're being snockered by these lying bastards, maybe there'll be a change in this country for the best. But until then, it ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. And if any of you who are this Limbaugh followers, why don't you contact them and say, Rush, why don't you make a movie about how great our victory is in Iraq? And that other nitwit O'Reilly, who said we've won in Iraq, because I've been there. What the hell were you doing in Iraq, you yellow-bellied producer rapist? I've got the facts in my briefcase about a lawsuit that he settled. But the public is so damn dumb to realize that they ain't investing their money to go in competition with the things that they criticize. They would much rather criticize the mainstream media. They would much rather criticize Hollywood. They would much rather criticize the character of a Katie Couric or the character of some of the leading journalists, some of the leading moderators that are on the networks. They're not going to invest one damn dime, but they'll sit and criticize, condemn, ridicule, make fun of, instead of spending one damn dime of their own money. And if you people out there who are supporters of these morons agree with them, why don't you email them? Why don't you call them? Why don't you say, Rush, let's make a movie. Hannity, let's make a movie about how great we're doing in Iraq, how great we're doing in Afghanistan. You would spend 2 cents to save America. You'll sit on your dead ass and say, oh, Rush, I love you. And the other nitwit, you're a brave American. That Putz Hannity wouldn't go into some of the neighborhoods that the police have to go into unless they went in there with armored tanks. That bum has never been in a race riot. That bum has never been in combat. But this bum is called, you're a brave American. You're about as brave as my dog who has the nerve to poop on the living room floor. And that's all Hannity is. He's a dog pooper. That's all he is. And you blind asses follow him blindly, as the blind asses are following every politician who's behind you kiss. I had my picture taken with so-and-so. I had my picture taken with Senator. These people work for us, you morons. We are their bosses. And yet you fawn and you gravel in front of these people. That nauseates me. That is my opening statement, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to challenge it, there's my chat room. And the telephone number is 215-253-8877. I remember years ago, there was a gentleman by the name of Bill Rusher, William Rusher. Maybe that name may ring a bell to some of you. He was the editor and publisher of National Review, and the late William Buckley was the owner. And my dear friend Barry Farber, who did not night talk radio on WOR, constantly had Bill Rusher on the air. That time, it wasn't the attack on the liberals or the Democrats. You must remember that if it weren't for the fact that the Berlin Wall came down, and the fact that communism has died, left the scene except in Cuba and in China and in North Korea, they'd still be fighting communists. But communism is no longer a fearful word because Putin is George Bush, our president's buddy. Remember when George Bush said, I looked into Putin's eye and here's a man I could do business with. You drug-addicted former alcoholic George Bush. Why don't you get on television now and talk about how wonderful Mr. Putin is, who right now is meeting with Hezbollah and Hamas in Moscow on how to destroy and take over the Middle East. But you asses that think George Bush is the greatest man who was president, he'll go down to history, you're not going to question him on that. You're not going to question Mr. Bush on bring it on. Hey, Georgie, baby, you're a tough guy. You got till January the 20th to still be a tough guy. How tough are you? He hasn't said bring it on lately, has he? He hasn't said lately the axis of evil, has he? And you morons forget all this. Well, maybe my memory's too damn good. And unless you start developing a memory, our country is doomed, as is the rest of humanity. Our chat room question, Irv, when did things change in talk radio from information to entertainment? Did this change impact the format for the worse? It changed when under Ronald Reagan, the broadcast industry was deregulated, my friend. Deregulated to the fact that one owner can now own 1,300 radio stations, 6 television stations, 3 newspapers, and magazines and billboards in one city. The deregulation of the broadcast industry, where the people no longer own the area of communication, and the advent of cable television, uncensored by the FCC, was the beginning of the end of legitimate talk radio, created by the name of a guy by the name of Roger Ailes, who was a genius in the field of mental manipulation. You must remember, ladies and gentlemen, that during World War II, the technique of mind control was developed by the Nazis, developed by the Japanese, not developed by the Italians because, God bless them, they were too busy making pizza and gelatis. That's why Italy lost the war. which is something I could never understand, because the Italian people are great people. How they succumb to following Adolf Hitler boggles my mind. But fortunately, when Italy surrendered, they became the strongest allies of the underground that America had in the European theater. But the deregulation under Ronald Reagan of the broadcast industry opened up the floodgates for the rich and powerful to control the airways. Own and control the airwaves by buying up radio stations left and right and paying exorbitant prices for them, inflating the cost of radio licenses to a point where the average broadcaster couldn't afford to buy a license, couldn't afford to go into the liquor business. The same as you've got today. You've got a liquor industry today where the mom and pop bar has been put out of business. You got sports bars with 13 television stations, and you got 15 places all over the country, 150 bars owned by one corporation. So all these people that talk about how great competition is are full of crap. They want to own and control everything. And so while they're talking on radio, these so-called radio stations with Limbaugh, Oxycontin Kid, and the rest of the syndicate, they're talking about competition, but have done everything they can to destroy the independent radio station where you, the people, had a voice. And that, Mike from Pennsville, was the beginning of the end of legitimate talk radio, the beginning of the end of competition in the field of broadcasting, the beginning of the end of destroying people who knew radio and sold out to accountants. Not that accountants are evil, but accountants tell the owners, the investors, who are not radio people, how to make money out of it. And so this complicity between the legal, the accounting, and the fixing of the deregulation of the broadcasting industry was the beginning of the end of legitimate talk radio. And that, my dear friend, is what happened. Did this change impact the format for the worse? You're damn right it did. Because you can tune in these whores 5 years ago and tune them in tomorrow. They're still talking about the same damn thing, how bad the liberals are. Well, I've got an answer for it. Why don't we kill all the liberals and kill all the Democrats and let these assholes run the country? But they wouldn't do it because not one of them whores ever ran for political office. Think about it. And when you see politicians groveling to be on their program and groveling to be interviewed and have the nerve to, well, I invited him 100 times. Why won't he come on the air with me? Who the hell are you to threaten and intimidate the President of the United States, the Vice President of the United States, the Secretary of State, or any senator, you pimp? You're nothing but a big mouth huckster that used to sell slicing machines on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. You're in business for one reason. They're not in business for information to you folks. They're not in business to give you education. They're not in business to save America. They're in business to sell you crap that don't work. Some pimp selling stars. I'll name a name. $65, and I'll name you a star after you. Which star, you pimp? Is it going to have a sign on it that says, this is Irv Homer star? And yet you morons buy it. Are you lonesome? Sign up with our Let's Meet People friends. It only costs you $3,500, and we'll introduce you through our computer to a lovely person, male or female. What kind of crap? This is what they sell you. Listen to their commercials. Do they sell you anything of value? Do they sell you maybe a new drug that is being held back by the FDA that may save your life if you have cancer? Maybe an alternative therapy, an alternative treatment? No, they don't sell you that. They sell you crap that isn't worth the powder to take the blow to hell. And if you don't believe it, get a book by Vance Packard written many years ago called Planned Obsolescence. Every damn product that they sell you has got a planned obsolescence quota. It's good for X number of years, period. They sold you the hula hoop. They sold you the pet rock. Much to my dismay, and I apologize for it, I sold you canned tap water for $1 a can. This big. On the label it said, this is strictly tap water from Texas. It contains no other vitamins other than the tap water comes out of, and sold it. And you morons bought it. The same as you buy the political garbage that they put out on a daily basis, 3 hours a day across the country. The same garbage that is printed in the magazines that the same owners that own the radio station, the same owners that have billboards selling you crap that don't work. Did it destroy the legitimacy of radio? You're damn right it did. And that's why it was necessary for Sirius and the other cable network to make you subscribe to something that you wanted to hear. Who would you rather hear, Howard Stern or Rush Limbaugh? Who is more entertaining? Oh, Howard is dirty. Howard never sold anything that blew up on you. Howard does not use drugs. Howard has told you the truth about yourself, and that's why people didn't like Howard Stern or Lenny Bruce or any of the other comedians that had the audacity to tell you the truth. Not some pimp like Michael Medved, who is proud to be a Jew, working on a network, ladies and gentlemen, that if you buy a car from one of his sponsors, your church gets a special discount. And what is played on that radio station all weekend? But good Christian music. And this pimp has the nerve to tell me that he's a good Jew. A good Jew wouldn't broadcast on that network. Our chat room is open for your questions or comments. My website is www.irvhomer.com. My email address is evilirv@irvhomer.com. And we're broadcasting from irvhomer.com. My website is www.irvhomer.com. My email address is evilirv@irvhomer.com. Now, the reason that I don't get calls or chat room when I do a program like this is because you're too damn embarrassed to challenge what I said. You're too damn embarrassed to challenge what I've said. Because you would rather have somebody else think for you than you to think for yourself. We have another question on the chat room. The current financial crisis in this country may only be a drop in the bucket compared to future unfunded liabilities of $7 trillion in Social Security, $34 trillion for Medicare, $12 trillion in military benefits. No way out of this mess, is there? Yes, Alan, there is. Very simple. And I told you, if you listen to the program with your ears open instead of your ass, we can pay off that liability, the unfunded liabilities, the $7 trillion in Social Security, because these are amortized debts. These are extended unfunded liabilities for people who will collect them over a period of time. What the actual debt is today is not being told to you. And I'll spell it out. You buy a home, you get a $200,000 mortgage. If you paid it off tomorrow, the house would cost you $200,000. Right? Right. That's not too difficult. Not hurting your brain, am I? Not taxing it too much. So $200,000 a day, you get a mortgage. Tomorrow you hit the lottery and you pay off your house. Your house costs you $200,000. Right? Now, if you take a 30-year mortgage at 5.5%, figure out how much that house is going to cost you over 30 years. That's called amortization. That house, instead of $200,000 mortgage, it may cost you $500,000. Well, that's this debt. You're looking at amortized debt. Now, if you read this little booklet here, it is a great booklet. You know what it's called? It's dirty reading. Don't read this thing. This is dirty. This is pornography. This is called the Constitution of the United States. See, this thing says that Congress, the people we elect, those whores that are so busy fattening their own goose, are supposed to coin and regulate money, not the Federal Reserve Bank. So let there be some brave son of a bitch in Washington, or a group of them, introduced legislation saying we will pay off the unamortized debt of all the debt that we have now, pay off our debt around the world, and reduce that amortized debt, and we will pay that debt, and we will coin and regulate debt-free money and abolish the Federal Reserve System. It can be done tomorrow. And that's why all those figures that you presented don't mean anything. Use the simple analogy of a $200,000 mortgage being paid off over 30 years. That amortized debt runs into the trillions. How much do we owe today? Why don't one of these geniuses look at the debt that we have today? Look at the national debt. Look at our outside obligations. And pay the damn debt off with debt-free money. We'll be out of debt in 30 days. And then we'll owe the money to ourselves. We'll owe the debt to ourselves. The short memory of old farts like me, and God bless you, I think most people over 65 have got Alzheimer's disease, or constipation of the brain, and diarrhea of the mouth. We paid and supported World War II ourselves with war bonds. We bought our own debt. We paid ourselves back our own debt. If this damn war for 7 years is so popular, why don't the American people invest in that war ourselves and buy our own government bonds and let the government pay us interest instead of paying China interest, you stupid asses? I resent the fact that I can't invest in my own government to protect my own ass against another 9/11. I have to depend on China to buy the debt of America to protect my ass. Are you crazy? And so we have this debt all over the world. We have a debt to a private bank called the Federal Reserve System. But you people think I'm some clown. You think I'm some jerk. Well, you're the suckers that lost your investment. You're the ones that lost your 401k. I didn't. You're the ones that lost your IRAs. I didn't. You're the ones that lost your retirement. I didn't. Now, who's smart? You or me? I didn't listen to that crap of getting into a war with a volunteer army and then boo-hoo because this one left 3 kids at home and this one left 2 kids at home. Who the hell told you to listen in the first place? Suppose they had a war and nobody showed up. Then what would they do? All of Congress would go in? There should have been a mass enlistment of every congressman and senator and their kids and all the rich and powerful in America to volunteer to go over to Iraq and Afghanistan. I'd like to know what the wealth is of our servicemen in Afghanistan and Iraq. I guarantee you it's nowhere near the wealth that these bastards in Washington have accumulated over the years, including the Bush family. And the only reason George Bush's father probably went in as a fighter pilot is because of the Bush family's oil investment in the Middle East. And he was afraid he'd lose his ass and money if he didn't volunteer. Irv, does the electronic harassment laws include cell phone towers too? No. Because easements are given to cell phone towers through the Communications Act of 1986. See, a lot of people think they own their ground when they buy property. What you own is the ground. You don't own what's underneath it, and you are prevented from fighting easements if it meets the common good. Because I'm involved in that in Florida. So its own cell phone towers can be placed any place. High frequency towers can be placed just about any place. If it serves the common good under the law of eminent domain, they can put anything they want to on your property. They can also confiscate your property under eminent domain and relocate you and pay you market value of your property. Look it up. It's 2 words, eminent domain. Very simple. Look it up in the dictionary. Irv, what effect does the black market have in the need for our country to have fiat currency? Are our problems today because thieves are making out better than real contributors to society, plain and simple? Well, let me answer the second question first. Are our problems today because thieves are making out better than real contributors to society, plain and simple? Question is that they're not thieves. The biggest lie that you hear, John of Abington, is there's loopholes in the law. Bullshit. Those loopholes are put there by lobbyists for these so-called thieves to put a tractor trailer through. There ain't no such thing as a loophole in the tax laws. There is no such thing in the loophole in the law. They're put there because there's 16,000 lobbyists in Washington, D.C. with a checkbook to pay for every damn senator and congressman except a few that you people don't like a Ron Paul, like a Harry Brown, like a George, what the hell was George's name out in Idaho, who they threw out of office because of a fraudulent charge. So the problems today are not because thieves are making out better than real contributors. Who the real contributors are the pimps, the lobbyists, who bought and paid for these so-called loopholes. Now, what effect does the black market have in need for our country to have fiat currency? The black market's got nothing to do with fiat currency. What the black market is causing is the elimination of cash to have what is known as a cashless society. Martin Gross 30 years ago predicted that eventually all cash transactions are going to be by electronics. ATM machines, pay cards, this, that, and the other thing. There are people, my doctor has admitted to me that he hasn't seen cash in 15 years. So the ultimate goal of government is to eliminate cash altogether, so that all electronic transfers of cash, of transactions, will be done electronically, where they can keep an accurate count, so that there would be the elimination of counterfeit money and a full declaration of every damn dime you got. You walk into a bank with $10,000 in cash and you manage to accumulate or cash check, you feel like a damn criminal. I went to buy a boat in Delaware many years ago, and I took I said, I'm going to pay you $30,000 for the boat. Oh, no, don't do that, or what the hell are you worried about? You want to sell the boat? I'll give you 30,000 cash. Legitimate money. I don't trust the banks. Well, why don't you finance it for 3 months and then pay it off? Then I won't have to fill out all the pay. That's how much your government trusts you. Walk into a bank with an $11,000 transaction, you'll feel like Al Capone. Not because the bank doesn't want your money, but because them whores in Washington don't trust you. When are you going to get through your thick head? For years, I was in touch with an organization called Burbank in Connecticut. In Burbank, well, God forbid some of you people have to spend $20 to get information. Not only to get misinformation from the Oxycontin Kid and them other nitwits on talk radio. But I subscribed to Burbank for the last 35 years. What Burbank does, it checks the financial status of your bank, or any bank in the United States that is under the Federal Reserve System. And so it used to cost me, well, it costs me today $35 a year. And the banks that I do business with, I know whether they're in the red area, the yellow area, or the green area. And I had represented the Burbank on the air any number of times until the program director said, "You're hurting the banks in Philadelphia." I don't give a shit about the banks in Philadelphia. I'm concerned about 2 million listeners that I had as to whether or not the bank they're doing business with had a reserve that I felt comfortable with. But I was shut up because some of the banks did not fare too well when people subscribed to Burbank to find out what the status of their bank was. Now all this crap that's going on with AIG had them whores spent $35 a year or $50 a year with Burbank out of Groton, Connecticut. They didn't know the damn bank was going to go belly up. There wouldn't have been any need for a bailout of $700 billion. But you people want something for nothing. And so you trust the government, and you trust these brilliant, smiling faces investment brokers. Never invest with an investment broker until he shows you his portfolio to see what the hell he's worth. You think for 1 minute I would invest with a guy that didn't show me how much he's worth legitimately? When I see people that have been ripped off by this guy Bernie Madoff, I figure, what assholes? Giving a guy $2-3 million and not knowing what he's personally worth? You got more money than me, you show me where it is, and then maybe I'll invest with you. But I'll be damned if I'm going to invest with you when you're mortgaged up to your ass and you want my money. But the average person is too damn cheap to spend $5 to get an education. Give you a classic example. There was a big push in Philadelphia years ago. They were going to take all these big apartment complexes and make them condominiums. This guy from Chicago came into the Philadelphia area, and he was buying up these apartment buildings, and people were paying $600, $800, $700 a month rent. He then said, guess what? As of 60 days from now, you're now going to have a condominium, and you will pay $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for it, and your monthly fee will be about $400 a month. Well, these people didn't know whether to crap themselves or blow a horn. So they called me on the air, and I said, I will come out to speak with you and tell you what your problem is for $1,000. And they said, fine. I said, send me the check. When the check clears, I'll come out. I went out to speak with them. 300 apartments in this one complex. It's in Germantown. Looked over the proposal with an attorney that I brought with me, someone who was familiar with condominium and real estate law. In fact, he taught real estate law at one of our colleges here in Philadelphia. He looked over the papers, and he said, we can beat this with no problem. It's a violation of an old land grant when the apartment complex was first built, violation of the city charter of Philadelphia, violation of many areas. Now, there were 300 people there, and he said, what I will need is $20 a person that's in the audience here as a retainer for a legal fee, and I guarantee you the entire cost of this thing will not be more than $5,000. Now, would you say that's pretty legitimate? You're paying $600 to $700 a month rent for an apartment. If it remains the same, you'll pay that for the extension release or maybe until you die. If you don't stop this guy, because he probably had some city politicians in his pocket with zoning variances, etc., don't you think $5,000 among 300 people is a good investment to stop it? I was putting my reputation at stake as a talk show host, bringing him there to protect their stupid asses. $25. What are you gonna do? I said, Harry, let's pack up. Well, wait a minute. No. Goodbye. And we left. 6 months later, it was a condominium. 1/3 of the people were forced to leave that apartment complex. The other 2/3 were in hock up to their ass, crying and boo-hooing on the air. We should have listened to you. We should have put up $50, not $25 that night. That is the stupidity of the masses of people, ladies and gentlemen. That's why the Bernie Madoffs, that's why the Ponzi's, that's why these guys can get away with it. And that's why the casinos get away with it. Promise you pie in the sky. We don't want nothing for nothing, but we'll buy lottery tickets up your ass. You'll go to the casinos and spend $3 billion a month, but you don't want nothing for nothing, do you? No, you don't want nothing. No such thing as a free lunch in America. That good old work ethic. Kind of mind-boggling. See, I know human nature. I know there's a lot of you people listening and madder than hell at me right now. But you can't argue with me because I'm right. See, the truth cannot be denied. And that's why you're pissed off at me. Because you're going to turn around after this program and make the same damn mistakes you made before. You wouldn't spend $25 to see whether your bank is solvent or not. You'll look at pornography on your computer rather than getting some education off the computer to protect your own ass. You may not like the way I talk, but that's too damn bad. This is my program. And if you don't like it, turn the damn thing off and wallow in ignorance. I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less if every one of you lose your goddamn house, your kid doesn't go to college, or your car's repossessed. I couldn't care less. I've told you about it for years on the program while you were listening to some bullshit on Sports Channel or some other goddamn thing. And I'm tired of feeling sorry. I am not a victim from any of this bullshit that a lot of you people are victims of. You bring information to people, they go, oh, that's awful. Oh, that's awful. Made a comment the other day to an acquaintance, a listener that I called after the radio program on WBCB 1490 AM at 1 o'clock, called him at 2 o'clock. Happens to be gay. I don't care what the hell he does as long as he don't do it in the street and scare the horses. My business what this guy does in bed with another man. The hell do I care what he does? My behind's got a sign on it that says exit only. So gay people can do whatever the hell they want to. Lesbian women can do whatever they want to. They want to get married, I don't care. How the hell is it going to affect me if they get married? And I hear this morality, and this nitwit Medved and this other guy, Dennis Prager, the morality of Judeo-Christian heritage. See this old nasty book here? This book here called the Constitution does not define marriage between a man and a woman. I don't give a crap what Rick Warren, that religious hustler that's replacing Billy Graham, says. I live by this, the Constitution of the United States. Doesn't say anything there that I can prevent two men from getting married or two women from getting married. There is nothing to prevent a justice of the peace in a civil marriage to bond themselves in marriage and get all of the advantage that the civilian, the secular constitution guarantees them. And so the whole argument of Proposition 8 in California is a farce. Show me one thing in the Constitution of the United States that defines marriage. Show me one thing in the Constitution of the United States that says marriage is between a man and a woman. Show me something in there that says marriage is between a man and a sheep. Oh, you know where syphilis came from? I don't want to tell you. Sheep carry syphilis. Some guy screwed a sheep someplace, and that's where he got syphilis spread around the world. Shocking, isn't it? Check it out yourself and call me on Friday. The blatant ignorance of the masses and the legitimate ignorance that's taught in our colleges and universities in American culture has led to the downfall of this society. Not the drug addicts, not the illegitimate babies, not abortion, none of this crap that you get all emotionally disturbed about. Ignorance is the destruction of societies. Thoughtlessness is the destruction of society. Nobody can influence your brain unless you open up your brain to a bunch of bullshit. And that's what you've been taught all your life. Bullshit. Took me a long time to realize that I was being propagandized by religion, by the government, Even my parents. Somebody once said to me, you know, only in America can a poor man become president of the United States. So then I'm in World War II and they tell me Hitler was a paper hanger. Wait a minute. So if in a dictatorship, if a guy can be a paper hanger should be able to be a president of the United States. Find me a paper hanger who'll ever be president of the United States. So this crap about only in America can a poor man become president of the United States. Ignorance is going to destroy this country, and you're contributing to it. I've mentioned this many, many times. The great humorist W.C. Fields was an atheist. Whether you believe in atheism or not is none of my business. Whether I believe it, it's none of your business. When he was reading the Bible on his deathbed, a friend came in and said, Bill, you're an atheist. Why are you reading the Bible? And he looked at me and he said, well, to tell you the truth, my dear friend, I'm looking for loopholes. When you listen to these morons, and when you listen to me, look for the loophole in the argument. On our chat room, Irv, do you see a rise in homosexuality as a red flag for that society? The rise in homosexuality is not rising any. It's always been there. Go back to the history of the Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, the Ottoman Empire. Hitler was a homosexual. He was a trisexual. He tried anything sexual. Homosexuality is as real among the human race. And if it wasn't real, why the hell was it mentioned in the Bible? So it must have been going on then. It's just that people who are homosexual or lesbians have read this thing. Said there ain't nothing in here against homosexuality. Nothing in here. I won't subscribe to it. I like women. I like a particular woman. That's my choice. And if I like the man, who the hell's business? Is it your business? So what homosexuality is not a red flag for that society. It's putting America's Constitution to work. If you have equal rights in America, then give them to me. And if you don't afford me all of my constitutional rights, then subtract from my income tax that portion of which freedom I am denied. So let's say you're a homosexual, you can't get married, you're denied certain civil rights. Okay, fine. Take 30% of my taxes. I'll pay 70% of the taxes that I owe because 30% of my rights are being denied, and maybe because I'm homosexual, and I'll pay the other 70%. Would that be fair? If I can't get 100% of my constitutional rights as an American citizen, homosexual or heterosexual, I don't want to pay all the taxes. So give me the exclusion of my homosexuality, and I'll pay you the rest. I love Ron Paul and want my money to be worth something. It was just as a thought I had in question where all the gold ended up with so much money going under the radar, especially in under-table lobbying. Taxes aren't collected on bribes, so that big money just disappears, right? Man, you can write convoluted questions. I don't have the faintest idea, John, I love you, about what the hell you're talking about. Let me ask you a question. You think there's any gold in Fort Knox? Remember you were a kid? There's gold in Fort Knox. You don't even know where Fort Knox is. People don't know what the hell Fort Knox, Kentucky is. They know where it is. Fort Knox has never been audited in the history of the deposit of gold in Fort Knox. I repeat, no one knows from an outside audit how much gold is in Fort Knox, but I'll tell you where most of the gold is in America. It's in Chase Manhattan Bank in their vault. We'll go into the value of gold and where it's at and why gold is at a premium today. But once again, let me remind you that ignorance is the biggest threat to any free society. And once again, if the bloviators, the drug addicts on syndicated radio, and the other morons that support them, some of you, don't like what goes on in Hollywood, doesn't like what goes on in the network. Buy your own damn network and start it. Produce your own movies with the bullshit about how we're winning in Iraq and Afghanistan and how wonderful George Bush is. What the hell is the matter? You afraid to invest your own damn money? But you'll sit and you'll criticize, and I may be redundant, but you'll sit and criticize Hollywood, and you'll criticize all of the folks on the networks, and criticize the journalists who have more brains because they can write, not speak. But you won't invest one damn dime of your own to go in competition with them, would you? The answer is no. Because you're cheap, yellow-bellied slime that are nothing but an American version of Joseph Goebbels, the propaganda minister of Nazi Germany. So to all of you guys on syndicated radio, Sieg Heil, and I'll see you later.